wasn't just about what was said with words at the debate, the candidates' body language also speaking volumes.
Chris, your version of foreign policy experience was closing a bridge from New Jersey to New York. Yeah. So do everybody a favor, just walk yourself off that stage, enjoy a nice meal, and get the hell out of this race.
This is the fourth debate that you would be voted in the first 20 minutes as the most obnoxious blowhard in America.
So body language expert and president of the Human Behavior Academy, Susan Constantine, is with us again. So what do you take away, Susan, good morning, first of all, but what do you take away from that exchange between Christie and Ramaswamy in terms of how they postured themselves?
Yeah, it's really interesting to watch the dynamics with them, because we look at Christie as that he is the one that's the ultimate authority, right? He's very powerful, commanding, and demanding. And when we look at Vivek, on the other hand, he's trying to kind of create his own ranking within the four of them. So when he feels like he's being attacked, you can see him leaning back, and then he uses his hand this way, like, back off, dude, and he is trying to create this distance between them. You'll notice, so if you got really close and you looked at his facial expressions right at the very end, you're going to see a sneer like this. That is disgust. That's how he feels about Christie.
And do you think that that is in part due to the fact that he is the outsider among all four candidates on stage? I kept thinking in my own mind about how to dissect this. And the fact is, he's the youngest. He is the only one on stage that's not a career politician. He has no political experience, but business experience. And he had no name recognition until he had some of these particular moments that became trending online and within the news media.
Yeah, and see, the issue is what's happening is there is because he's trying to overperform, all of his gesturings are more contrived. So he's got every word synced with every gesture, and that in itself kind of loses its natural fluidity. So this is what I would call a really good orator, a great speaker, but also over-rehearsed. And I think that's what we tend to see in him. And so then he over-punctuates, and he tends to use these very jagged movements like this, which really I think is where he tends to overemphasize, and he loses his power by doing that. Look at his gestures. Everything's synced up. Even when he's talking about the bridge or the gaps, everything is mirrored. So that's not necessarily a bad thing, but when it becomes so rehearsed, it's what we call impression management. He's trying really hard to impress his image to everyone else.
Well, and he did certainly do that, whether people liked it or not. And there were some in the crowd, as we heard from Connell, who were younger, who really appreciated his delivery. Out of all the candidates, was there a clear winner, somebody who postured themselves as confident and authentic?
Yeah, I think it was Nikki Haley and then Governor DeSantis. I mean, literally threads away. And the reason why I say that is that Nikki Haley stayed composed throughout. She wasn't going to get involved in the drama. She looked straight ahead. And I think that she did that because she didn't want to get emotionally involved. When you tend to meet eyes with people, that's where the emotion starts. So she stayed in her lane. She continued to stay in her lane. And then Governor DeSantis always has that very strong, powerful look. He does have some awkward gesturing. I have my own opinion about that, but he holds.
What is your opinion?
Well, if I look at his facial expressions, and I've actually met him in person, and I've stood next to him, had my photo with him, and watched him through a photo app. When you notice and he smiles, he does this, right? So I was watching that, especially even in person. He holds his teeth together like this. So he has what we call this controlled smile. I believe when I'm watching him, his emotions and affect don't match up. He either over-emotes or he under-emotes. He looks sometimes angry, but a lot of times, and my own opinion is that people that could possibly be on the spectrum tend to see anger and sadness in other people, and they also mimic that on their own face, even though they have a hard time regulating emotions. So his emotions either are overemphasized or underemphasized, but he doesn't know what the actual emotion he should show with his words. And so that's where people are getting tripped up. And I don't think that this has anything to do with his quality of what he does and his command. I think it has everything to do with cognitivity and also sensory overload.
Okay,
that's what I see and him.
Can I ask you really quickly, as my producers are telling me we have to wrap up, but Susan, what advice would you give him? Because I'm really curious the way you've dissected him in particular. If you had 8 seconds, elevator closed with him, what would you tell him to do to change that?
What I would say is just to be his authentic self, and I don't think that he should make any excuses for it. I think that he is, because I've actually thought about reaching out to him and working with him on his body language, but you can't teach this. This is not something to teach, but here's the big thing. Allow yourself to emote, because the more he contains himself, it's like a percolator, right? And all this energy is coming out, and that's why you're seeing it all in these facial expressions and movements and rapid gestures, is because he's trying too hard to control his gestures. I'm saying don't do it, let it out.
All right, Susan Constantine, always interesting to have a conversation with you. We appreciate it. Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News Nation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.